Hello and welcome to my video channel again. I am Wendy, the concierge. Very nice to see you this evening. I hope you are doing well. Um, let's see. Tonight I wanted to talk to you about the issues that are surrounding when people come back for re-entry, especially when you're coming back as a white-collared individual, and especially when you're coming back as a white-collared female individual. All right. So, first of all, most of you know if you've been paying any attention thus far. I'm not somebody who was convicted of a white collar crime. I was convicted of a non-violent drug offense, first time offender. However, I was put into a incarceration facility which was primarily populated, I would say, with women who were white collar criminals. And I became very interested in this for a couple of reasons because I noticed some things about their experience in prison that really wasn't matching mine very well at all. When you're convicted of a drug crime, one of the first things that everybody will tell you if you're convicted federally is that you should go and take RDAP. And one of the reasons that they tell you this is because RDAP, the Residential Drug and Alcohol Program that the Bureau of Prisons offers, if you complete it, certain people's sentences, if you complete it, you can get a year of time off of your sentence. And so obviously people want to do that. So the thing is, though, is that if you're a white-collar criminal, they don't have, like, a similar, like, how to not be a greedy shitball class. That doesn't exist. So there's not really a way that they can take time off. Now, if you really sit there and poke and probe, at least with the women that I met, I can't speak about men who commit white-collar crimes because, like, I don't really know them. I don't fuck with them. I mean, I know some, don't get me wrong. But, like, I didn't get to know them on the same level that I did many of the women, okay? Now, if you take a lot of these women who've committed white-collar crimes and you sit there and you poke around for a little bit, you know what you find? You find out that a lot of them either had some sort of trauma in their background that led to them making really dumb decisions, behaving in a way where they felt that they had to keep up a certain image, a facade, a veneer, that they couldn't tell the truth about, oh, I'm in trouble, I need help, I've lost a lot of money, my business plan isn't working out right, can you bail me out? Yeah, no. So trauma can lead to sort of things like that. There's another aspect also. If you talk to a lot of these women, you'll find out that many of them were hiding either a drug or an alcohol problem, which also tends to go hand in hand with the trauma that I just told you about, right? Right. Okay. Now, if you go in and on your pre-sentence report, or even when you first get to prison, and you're a woman who's committed a white-collar crime, okay, and, you go in and they say, well, why did you do this? And you say, well, I was a raging alcoholic, and I wasn't keeping up at my work responsibilities very well, so I thought I should just grab some money, or I was using shitloads of crystal meth and cocaine, and I had bills that I had to pay to my dealers, things like that. At that point, many people have been told, oh, well, then you do qualify for RDAP, because the way that you qualify for RDAP, any of these recidivism programs actually, the Bureau wants you to take these programs in an effort to reduce your recidivism risk. They call it EBRR, evidence-based recidivism risk, okay? So, in those cases, they'll let you take it to try to get the time off. Anybody can take RDAP, but you can only get the time off for it if it's something listed that they think will help you refrain from committing crimes in the future, because that's why they want to incentivize people to take it. Obviously. Makes sense if you think about it, right? Right. Okay. So there's that. But here's the thing. If you're somebody who didn't have a drug and alcohol problem, there's still no how to stop being a greedy dirtball class. That doesn't really work. Okay, that it doesn't exist. And also, another thing about it is that when you get out of prison, as I've said before, and that many of you know, you're not supposed to be interacting with people that you were in with. You're not supposed to talk to other felons. The reality is that nobody actually cares unless you're trying to, like, do things together. Like if you're going in and you're constantly failing your drug tests and you're also interacting with a bunch of other felons, your probation officer or supervising officer, half-ass, whatever, is going to look at you sideways and be like, what are you doing? Because the assumption is that you're not staying right because you're talking to the wrong kind of people. And it's more than likely probably true. Okay? So, when you're a drug addict, though, or you've committed a drug offense, this is how you get around it. Oh, I'm talking to my sponsor. Oh, we're going to an AA meeting. Okay? But if you're somebody who needs support in your reentry and in your resuming, a nice, law-abiding citizen life, and you just happen to be a white-collar criminal who wasn't a drug addict, there's no support group that you can go to. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. There's really, no, emotional support for that. And frankly, I can't imagine a bunch of guys who, embezzled money and stuff sitting around talking about, how, traumatized they are. The bill from, the madman firm isn't, waving to them on the fucking golf course anymore. That's not how dudes do things. No, they're not going to cry like a bitch to each other about that. That's not how it works. But men have a different experience when they come out than women do, okay? When a man gets convicted of a white-collar crime, okay, usually his wife gets really mad at him and is embarrassed. This is largely because they've just lost all their income and she's pretty pissed, okay? I'm not trying to be a sexist asshole when I say that. It's the reality. If you're dating a guy, married to a guy who committed a white-collar crime, a guy who's high enough up to do that, you're probably living a pretty privileged lifestyle. And you're probably a stay-at-home mom. Or at least your career is extremely secondary to his. And you're not going to be able to, get it together. The good wife is real. Okay? So, a lot of times their wives will bail out on them because they're really mad and embarrassed. And the money's gone and they're pissed off. And they're just furious with him for ruining their rep and all that, right? Right. So a lot of times their wives dip. Okay. But their bros generally don't. Unless they stole money from them. Okay. For the most part, a guy commits a white-collar crime, it's kind of like, yeah, shitty day at the office. It's a boardroom problem. They get out, and men network together, especially white dudes, okay? White middle-aged dudes are amazing at networking together. They've been doing it since they were in high school. They went to college together. They joined frats together. They banged girls together and got drunk together. Okay? Then they started making money together. And some of them started stealing money together. Or at least they understood it. And they're still homies. So they hang out. They shake hands. They come on out. They find, come on, come work over in my firm. You can be a consultant now. You can't be a stockbroker anymore. You can't be a lawyer anymore. But you can be a consultant. Women don't network in the same way like that. It's a real shame. Because we really should. Generally speaking, when you see a woman that's very advanced in her career on a white-collar level, she's a very independent woman. She doesn't have, a whole bunch of other women that she networks off of, okay? So, when the women that I knew who came out from white-collar crimes, when they went in, they were lawyers, they were stockbrokers, they were certified chief financial officers, and they came out and they're receptionists now. Administrative assistants. And I've got nothing against administrative assistants. I personally am a fantastic one. But when you watch somebody who graduated from Georgia Tech in accounting and, was handling hundreds of millions of dollars a year in transactions and signed off on all of her shitheel boss's shenanigans and ended up getting sentenced to 7 years for it, when you watch her come out to answer the phones at a lawn care company for minimum wage, pretty devastating. What a waste of talent and potential. Like, you have all these bright, brilliant, smart women coming out that are, the office clerk, supplies clerk for bath fitter groups, The guys are writing books, they're establishing consulting firms, they're, opening up investment companies, managing property and shit. The girls are answering the phone. It's really, really difficult for women who commit white-collar crimes to come back from that. The men bounce back so much easier because of their business and networking opportunities. It's just reality. That's not the only way that it sucks for women who get convicted of white-collar crimes. If you sit there and go and look at the stats through it, you look at the white dudes who commit a white-collar crime, steal a bunch of money or whatever, right? They'll get sentenced to, say 2-3 years. A woman who commits the same crime, steals maybe half the money he did, if he gets 2 or 3 years for it, she will get 7. Okay? Because here's the thing, the guys are looked at it, and the judges aren't supposed to look at it this way. They're really not. But there's such a thing as inherent bias, And they're maybe not thinking of it consciously, but it's in there. A guy who moves some money around, it's just like some shifty bookkeeping, some regulation problems, it's capitalism, bureaucracy trying to keep the man down. A woman who did it is being a sneaky, shifty, little greedy bitch. And probably stealing from some man. Okay? It's very obvious when you look at the sentencing disparity that this is a thing. This is real. This happens. So it's quite different. It's a very different experience for people. Okay? And what really sucks too is, okay, for people like me or drug addicts, there are a lot of people who say, you're terrible, what you put your parents and your family and the people that you sold drugs to through. They should lock you up, throw away the key. Those people aren't the majority. Majority of people say you had a problem, as long as you're clean and sober now and reestablishing your life, good for you. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have to walk around with an F on my back that's going to prevent me from getting a bunch of jobs that I could get. It's going to prevent me from renting apartments in certain places. Okay, that's real. But there's, generally speaking, compassion from the general public about it. They believe in the story of redemption. They're like, it was a health problem and should have been handled differently. It's like that there's some sympathy. Women who steal money, there's no sympathy. No, there's no sympathy for them at all. I've never heard anybody that. They were just being greedy, they keeping up with the Joneses, materialistic, and all that. And that's not necessarily why their crimes happen, okay? Some of them were gambling addicts. Eventually you have to get your money from somewhere. And if you think that gambling can't be an addiction, okay, when you're having an airplane come pick you up from a fancy casino and you bring your girlfriends with you because that's what the casino wants you to do. You go there, they comp you 10 grand, you start, and you sit in front of a slot machine for 20 hours and you get the casino to hold it for you while you go nap for 4 hours, come back and go straight back to that slot machine. You never go outside. You don't enjoy the pool. You don't go to shows with your girls. You don't go to the fancy restaurants. You are in front of that slot machine the entire time for a week-long vacation with your girls. That, my friends, is an addiction. That's fucked up behavior. That's not even a good time. It's not. And if you look at the people that are experiencing that and are engaging in that behavior, you can tell that they're not having fun. It's not good. They're sick too. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So, they come out, and there's nothing that's helped them at all in prison, right? Like I said, there's no program, for how to stop being a greedy cow. That doesn't exist. And even RDAP really isn't that appropriate for them, even if they're coming at it from an addiction angle. So let me tell you a little bit about RDAP. RDAP, it's not treatment in the traditional sense where, you go to treatment and you figure out why are you acting like such an idiot, and you resolve, your inner child and your trauma, and you figure out, to find better ways of dealing with your feelings and stuff. RDAP is basically changing criminal thinking patterns. Okay? Stuff like the world owes me, thinking that the only way I'm going to get ahead is if I take things. I'm thinking really basic stuff like that. Thinking like most people break rules. It's okay for me to break rules. It's supposed to be teaching you out of that. Unfortunately, they tend to be really petty and ban shit like, I bring a block of chocolate and Sarah brings a box of cookies and we try to make some prison s'mores. Oh no, that's criminal thinking apparently. Potluck dinners in Lutheran church basements across Minnesota are definitely the gateway drug to criminal thinking. So now you know. Alright. So there's the whole problem with that. So what happens then in the end is that when you come out, and this is true for the white collar guys too, but like I've already explained, they have it a little easier. One of the only ways that you can really reestablish yourself is if you go into business for yourself. We are allowed to do that. But when you come out and you've got these barriers with you, when you don't have the same networking opportunities, and then on top of it, you've got to pay for your own house, you've got to pay your restitution, which some of the people I know are paying anywhere from $100 to $700 a month per. A lot of the women who come out also have child support obligations to pay, as do the men. But on top of that, they've usually also got at least half custody of their kids. Many of them come out and want to regain full custody because, God forbid, you're a mother in this country and you don't have full custody of your kids, or at least primary custody. It's a bad look. We're conscious of that. And we love our children and we want them to come home with us. Obviously. And our children want us back too. So not only do you have to get yourself a place, you've got to get yourself a place big enough for your kids. Then you've got your kids back. You've got to take care of them. You've got to pay your child support obligations. You probably owe child support to somebody for during the time when you were incarcerated. Then you've got your restitution on top of it. And you're supposed to do all of this on, what, 20, 25 bucks an hour? That's what the women I know are making who are lucky. Most of them are around 15 bucks an hour. And these are women I know with professional degrees and licenses. Women who are in STEM fields. Women who are accountants, attorneys, financial officers, stockbrokers, hedge fund managers, real estate agents. Done. It's over. They're just answering the fucking phone now. Such a waste of potential. And here's the other thing, too. As if it's not hard enough when you come out, where you're excluded from so many jobs because of your felony record, there's the whole housing thing, too. Doesn't matter what kind of felony you have. A lot of places, if they look at you, even like misdemeanors. I know somebody who got into a shoving match with her boyfriend one time. The cops came, there was a whole domestic violence, cops ticketed both of them. She's a lawyer now. She owns multiple properties and is the landlord herself. She can't rent herself an apartment because she was trying to rent herself an apartment in the city closer to her office where she works. She can't rent a fucking apartment because of her past criminal background. Because it's noted as a violent offense. Right? Isn't that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard in your life? It's a 20-year-old offense. How is that even a thing? Oh, and she can't get it expunged because it's a violent offense. Yeah. How is that helping anybody? Which is why I keep saying, the only way that we can really positively make a direct impact on this is by acquiring property and purposefully and specifically renting our properties out to people in re-entry, people who have criminal backgrounds and felony records, people who have suffered through addiction issues, and people who need that sort of housing. Unfortunately, the situation that we have right now is that a lot of the landlords who are willing to rent you with your criminal background are charging you a premium for it. I mean, as if housing isn't expensive enough right now with the crap wages that you're getting when you come out of prison. Right? Right. Speaking of the wage thing, too, here's another lovely thing that gets done to you. So you go through the process, you apply for a job, they offer you the job. They say, we're going to do a background check. Is there anything I should know? Yeah, about 6 years ago, I was convicted of a felony. I was an attorney and I was convicted of filing false asylum claims. I was trying to help people. The asylum claims weren't believed. I was going with the information I had. Obviously, I'm no longer an attorney or I wouldn't be applying for this office job. Thank you very much. Please hire me. Right. So they come back at you and they say, you know what? We looked at your record. It's not violent. It's not drug related. You didn't steal money. That's fine that you have a felony on your background. We'd like to hire you. So the salary is going to be $40,000 a year. Wait, what? You advertised that this position was $60,000 a year. Yeah, but since you've got this on your background, we're going to have to offer you at a lower salary. Oh. Okay. So you start the job. You're doing your work. Your boss wants you to stay and do overtime. Oh. Do I get the overtime rate then? It's time and a half, right? No, we just pay you for the extra hours. I don't get an extra bonus for doing overtime? Yeah, you get paid for the extra hours. Well, yeah, because not paying me for the extra hours is illegal, you shitbag, but whatever. Okay? And they know that you can't really quit because guess what? When you come out and you're on post-supervisory release, you can't quit your job unless you get permission from your probation officer to do so. That's the thing. Yeah. So they have you between a rock and a hard place. And they know it. This is why a lot of people with criminal backgrounds, especially if they want to go back into some sort of clerical position, they go through staffing agencies. that way the staffing agency can decide and place them in different places. You end up doing a lot of phone work, a lot of sales work. I don't know about you, but I was doing that when I was in high school. And you're supposed to be supporting a family on that and paying for your restitution. In your apartment that comes at a premium price. And you can't really get like one-on-one support and call your friends and ask them how they're doing and stuff in the same situation, because you're not allowed to talk to other felons unless it's for some sort of treatment-related purposes, but you're not an addict, and so it goes on. Lovely. And I just can't get over the whole waste of potential on it. They talk about how, you can't find people for positions. Well, I know a whole lot of people who would like a job. I applied for a job as a medical scribe. This is basically where you're a stenographer for a doctor's appointment. So I'm just writing down everything that's heard, right? I have a criminal background, so I can't do it. I wouldn't be near any money. I wouldn't be near any drugs. Nothing like that. But I can't do it. This is a $12 an hour entry-level position. And the fact I have a criminal background means that I can't take notes at a doctor's appointment for somebody. So when you tell me that you can't find people for positions, cry me a fucking river. Oh, restaurants are hiring. Okay, so everybody in the restaurant industry is going to throw tomatoes at me right now, but y'all know it's true. Okay, we can't work in the restaurant industry. The restaurant industry is filled with a bunch of fucking drug addicts and alcoholics. Like, if you're trying to stay sober and out of trouble and away from alcohol, the restaurant industry is not where you need to be. Even if, again, you're a white-collar criminal and you're coming out, you can't be around it. It's not a thing. It's not good, okay? And I'm not saying that every kitchen is like, Anthony Bourdain in his 20s, but enough of them are that you don't know, and you can't ask that before you go in. So then you get in, you get a job, and what are you supposed to do? Tell your probation officer, I need to quit. Everybody's doing blow in the bathroom during my shift. Can't abide. I don't want to be near it. Yeah, no. That's not a good look either. And let's face it, you need the money. So you don't want to get into that position. Great. So these are some of the problems that come with it. You've got like the societal stigma. You've got the fact that there's absolutely no programming for it whatsoever. You've got the fact that there are extra costs incurred. You've got the fact that women are naturally at a disadvantage about it because of the societal stigma, and on top of it, the fact that we don't network in the same way that guys do. So it's not like we can just come right out and be like, here's your golf caddy, and like, let's go to the links and talk about where we're going to fit you into our company. It doesn't work like that for us. Okay? It just doesn't. So when you hear about all these people complaining about these unfilled jobs and the unsympathetic characters, contemplate that maybe it should be a state of things that, unless it's a bona fide occupational requirement, why are we allowing people to do background checks? What does it matter? Okay, if I'm going to be a bank teller, yes, you should be able to do background check. But that background check should be specifically, does any red flags pop up from Wendy regarding money? No. Great. Wendy can now be a bank teller. If, my friend Janie, who robbed Goldman Sachs of $40 million, if she wants to go and be a pharmacy tech, right? Does any red flags come up for Jamie with regard to pharmacy work? No, that should be the end of it. Okay? When somebody's doing a background check for you for an apartment, as long as you pay your rent, why I understand a credit check, but why? Why? Please explain to me why it matters if I have a felony or not. Some people say, like, oh, well, because they're involved with, like, drugs and they party all the time, they're a bad risk. There are plenty of people who don't have felonies who are doing that same sort of behavior, alright? So let's not even play like that. Let's not, okay? If somebody's behaving and having people come over all hours of the night and being a bunch of lieabouts with, like, a cloud of pot smoke over the back stoop all fucking day, you can kick them out for that. You don't need to check their background in advance for anything other than if they can actually pay the rent. That's it, that's all. Okay? There we go. Okay. Which brings me to another type of stigma that I want to talk about. And this is a super uncomfortable conversation, but here we go. If there's anybody who's stigmatized more than women who commit white-collar crimes, we all know who it is. The sex offenders. Okay, so let's get this up and out of the way right now. Sex offenders are gross. Everybody hates them. Nobody likes people that picks on children. Children are innocent. You fuck them up for life. It's terrible. It's almost worse than killing them. Blah, 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 blah. We all know this. Alright? We all know there's no excuse for it. It hits all of us deep in our guts. Either because we were those children who got abused, or because we have children and we can't imagine how anybody could do such a thing to a child. Or just because we like children. Or maybe we don't like children, but we still understand that it's gross and wrong. Yeah. Okay, it's gross. A lot of people say that they should lock them up, throw away the key, they should be drug out in the street and shot, they should never be allowed to enter society again, blah, 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 blah. I am not minimizing those feelings. I am not invalidating those feelings in any way, shape, or form. And at the same time, the reality is that 99% of sex offenders are going to walk out of prison. Okay? And if we keep treating people who took a piss in an alley at 3 a.m. after the bars close the same as somebody who does unspeakable crimes against humanity to little children, it's going to get to the point where, first of all, sex offender status isn't going to mean anything. Secondly, these people are going to come out. They're going to be a part of society again one day. If we treat them all like lepers and relegate them to areas where they can't hardly even live, where they have to stay in their car, where they can't come out, where they can't see anyone, where they can't even work at certain businesses, not because of their criminal background, but because the businesses are too close to a school, too close to a daycare, too close to a park. There are some cities where sex offenders can effectively not even live because every dwelling is that close to a school, a park, a daycare, etc. We're not doing them any favors. And of course, we don't want to do them any favors, but we're not doing us any favors. It would be far more intelligent to keep them in our midst. There needs to be effective programming for these offenders. Some of them won't take it. See Bill Cosby, for example. I don't even know what to say about that one. Some of them won't take it, but most of them are willing to. We need to keep them close. We need to keep an eye on them. If we just throw them away, we're just creating an environment where it's going to be easier for them to commit their crimes in the future. This doesn't help them, doesn't help our society, and it certainly does not help protect children. Because the easiest way to get somebody to recidivate for any crime is when they're feeling low and shitty and bad, and like there's no point in not recidivating. Like there's no reward for it. Somehow, we need to make not committing another crime more appealing than committing another crime. And that is absolutely not by relegating people to the edges of society. Whether that be because you committed a sexual offense, because you stole your entire family's money, because you sold drugs to teenagers. If we don't start having better reentry services, we're going to continue to have people reoffending and not being productive members of society. It really comes down to that overall. So now you may be wondering, well then how do we do things? You know, like I just said, like sex offenders I think should actually be within our midst. You know, they should be required to take follow-up treatment. They should be watched and supervised. But making it so that they can only live out in the boondocks doesn't help anybody. They need to have gainful, meaningful employment and be active members of the community. Yes, away from the kids. But they need to be there. Okay? When it comes to the people who committed white-collar crimes, especially the women, they need to be given another chance. The guys are already getting second chances. So I'm asking you guys out there who are watching this who committed white-collar crimes, reach out to your sisters, because they're not getting the same opportunities that you are. And it would be tragic if you didn't get to use your talents and attributes. And it is tragic that they aren't. And the people who can help them are you, actually, the most. Because if you can find a job for a guy who's a white-collar criminal that's at least remotely related to his past, you can find one for one of your sisters, too. They don't need to just be receptionists, okay? Come on, get real. Find some talent in there. Extend a hand just like was given to you. We're going to need your hands. The next thing that we need to do, people, is we've got to acquire this property. And when we do acquire this property and make it felon-friendly housing, we cannot be gouging our fellow felons. We've got to open our doors and provide sustainable, intelligent housing for them. Okay? And finally, there needs to be work-related opportunities for people to do jobs that are relevant to their skill set, that don't put them in a predicament where they can recidivate again, and that helps our society as a whole. Because when people are acting as productive, healthy members of a society, they don't go commit crimes again. It's a positive feedback loop. So these are the things that I think of. Open opportunities. Be kind. Network. So, that was all you're going to get from me tonight. As always, I am Wendy the Concierge. WendyTheConcierge at gmail.com. My Ko-fi and my blog links are in the description below. Go ahead and hit me up. If you like what I do, like I said, please donate to my Ko-fi link. But I never hold information back for lack of payment because I'm just not about that life. I can't bring myself to do it. It's probably why I don't make any money. If you have any questions for me or you would like me to help you out with a specific issue, please go ahead and hit me up. I love answering your questions. It's one of my favorite things to do. Next episode, we're actually going to have a lengthy Q&A session because now I finally have enough Q&As built up in my email account that I can do a whole, Ask Wendy episode. So, go ahead and please get those questions in next time if there is something burning addressing that you would like me to address, go for it. Hit me up. You have a lovely day. And stay out of prison. Bye for now.